primary source of pollution to us is the Tijuana River itself.
Mayor Paloma Aguirre is a key stakeholder and advocate for addressing the severe sewage crisis impacting her community of Imperial Beach. Can you tell us what's going on?
Well, the cross-border pollution crisis has been affecting us for decades, but it's really worsened in the last few years. And that's because of a number of reasons. We share a watershed with Mexico. 3/4 of the Tijuana River watershed are there. 1/4 is in the U.S. Imperial Beach is at the tail end of that watershed. So we are impacted because of all of this transboundary pollution. We have a lot of ranches and farms in the river valley where a lot of people still live and have animals and whatnot. And one of these problem areas is at Saturn and Sunset, where the river is still flowing and there's so many chemicals and surfactants present there that you have right now conditions of foam being generated and up to 4 to 6 feet of foam covering the river. Unless you're wearing a respirator, you start to develop the symptoms that are consistent with hydrogen sulfide exposure, which can be nausea, dizziness, headaches. Here in Imperial Beach, we've been experiencing that for a long time. The migraines, the headaches, the shortness of breath, the sinusitis, the allergies, the asthma, some even lung lesions. So it's extremely concerning. Mm-hmm.
And what about the residents?
It's heartbreaking. I hear reports of people living in the river valley just blocks away from this area of high foam that I've been mentioning that are extremely unwell. We have a resident there that has had to call 911 at least 2 to 3 times already, experiencing shortness of breath and chest pain. We have another family, for example, Matt Henry is a young dad that has 6 young children, and they just took a road trip outside of IB, and they were doing great. And the moment they came back, his kids started to experience upper respiratory ailments like coughs and phlegm and almost asthma-like symptoms. And it just breaks your heart because we're a working class community and not everybody has the ability to just relocate if that's what they are interested in doing. So now they're just living concerned of all of this pollution having impacts on their children or on the elderly or on the immunocompromised. I hear about them all the time. I hear elderly folks that have COPD that, can't open their windows at night. And it's very challenging especially when we've had all of these heat waves that are so unusual for Southern California, because we don't have AC units in our homes. So it's very concerning.
How much pollution comes from Tijuana River, and where does that go straight to the ocean?
Absolutely, it goes straight into the ocean without any treatment. So Southern California riverine systems don't flow all the time. Unlike other rivers throughout the world, they're dry. When it doesn't rain, there's no flow. There's a number of factors that now have caused this river to flow year-round. Ironically, there's 2 sewage treatment plants on the east side of Tijuana that are treating wastewater at a very high level, up to tertiary level of treatment. But because they don't have enough purple pipes to redirect and reuse that treated wastewater, it gets discharged into the river, causing now year-round flow because there's a significant amount of treated effluent that's placed back into the river. On top of that, you have a number of renegade sewage flows throughout the city, potentially illegal dumping as well. So now we have almost 18 million gallons per day. In the last year and a half, we've seen a significant increase in flow in the river, up to 40 to 60 million gallons of flow per day. That's unheard of. We've never experienced that before. And we don't have the infrastructure on the U.S. side to divert the river flow or to treat it. There's a small level of flow that's flowing through the estuary that basically flows into our beaches. That's about 3 to 5 million gallons per day still present right now in the Tijuana River valley and estuary flowing out into our coast.
We are honored to be sponsored by Shenyun. I've been attending Shenyun performances every year as they change the choreography and music. Shenyun takes you back in time to the magical world of ancient China with unique blend of brilliant dancing, beautiful costumes, and legends coming to life. Overall, it's a very meaningful performance with a lot more than just entertainment to offer. Make sure to go see it this year. Go to shenyun.com and book your tickets today. I highly recommend it.
People nowadays go to the doctors, the psychiatrists for pills, for antidepressants. This is the antidepressant. The best.
I knew it was going to be good. It's a billion times better than I even thought it would be.
I'd heard people say, you don't want to miss this, and I would fully agree.
I'm going to tell everyone to come see it. You have to.
Definitely going to come back next year.
Totally inspirational. You have to go see this.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime must-see that will change their lives forever.
Paloma, so you're saying a lot of this sewage, all of it is coming from Mexico. Can you explain to us what's going on there?
Mexico, we knew the negative externalities from the NAFTA trade agreement would occur. And this was something that is no surprise. When you have expedited trade exchange of goods and services, it obviously is very attractive for people seeking jobs. The labor sector in Tijuana is vast and ever growing. We produce many things in Tijuana because, we have this trade agreement with Mexico. Just as an example, about 70% of our electronics are assembled there. So there's a very significant influx into the city because of those reasons, and just for the fact that it's a border city, right? And people are trying to migrate or live in the transboundary region of the U.S.-Mexico border. So Mexico has the challenge to provide infrastructure for a very high number of people. It's almost the exact same population as the city of San Diego, but with a fraction of the resources. So the wastewater system is extremely stressed. And then on top of that, you have a combined stormwater and sewage system as well. So anytime it rains, you have breaks that happen because of stormwater, but produce sewage spills into the system. And as I was mentioning, we share the watershed with Tijuana, but the city of Tijuana is on average 300 feet above sea level. So all of that pollution drains down across the border through the river valley estuary and into the ocean. So it's very challenging for them to keep up with the sufficient infrastructure, and the result of it is both of our nations are severely affected by all of this pollution. We're past the narrative, past the discussions of we need to fix it at the source because that takes too long. And now we're experiencing the effects of those decisions. Not to say that we're right or wrong. We're just at an inflection point where we have people becoming severely ill. We have a situation that has now been declared as a public health crisis by our county board of supervisors in San Diego. It's a ticking time bomb. I am extremely concerned that people may begin to perish because of this. So we cannot afford to wait to work through diplomatic channels across the border. Whatever that work looks like, and when it comes to fruition, great. That'll be the cherry on top. But for now, we need immediate interventions and infrastructure on the U.S. side to protect the close to 750,000 residents of the South Bay.
Is the sewage going into the ocean, but there's a facility that's doing treatment. Can you explain the dynamics there?
Sure. That treatment plant, I think, is a great example of binational cooperation. It was built in the mid-90s following the NAFTA trade agreement It's one of the first of its kind. It's entirely located on U.S. soil, but it treats wastewater from Mexico. 100% of the wastewater it treats, it's coming from the city of Tijuana.
This is where it all starts. The flow from Mexico, it comes in here. So this is our first encounter with the water where we remove the trash. We don't want trash going through the system. It gets in the pumps, gets in valves. It's a wear and tear. It's not good. So
this is the first phase, right?
Right. So
There's a lot of there could be a lot of things in there, right?
Right. Yeah. We've actually had a body come through here once.
Wow.
We had a dog come through here that lived.
Wow.
So yeah, you get all kinds of stuff in here. So when the trash goes on a conveyor belt, it goes next door, and it drops in these bins. When the bins are filled, we'll take them out of here, and then Mexico, we'll take it to Mexico and dump it somewhere. We already take it as much as we can. And their pump stations right now, I think, is probably pumping as much as they can also, but they're still flowing the river. So they need to try to find the sources of these flows in the river and stop those. They also need to increase the capacity of their pump stations so they can pump more of it down south. Now keep in mind, it goes down south and it's discharged in the ocean. It's still not treated. This is a biological process. So we have bacteria in the water here, east of dissolved solids. So we keep track of the bacteria, the oxygen level to make sure the bacteria is healthy and is doing its job. So the flow is going this way in each one of these cells. It's going that way. It's going that, yeah. When we expand the plant from 25 million gallons per day to 50, we have all this land. This is all IBWC property, so we'll just kind of spread out that way. Lots of room to grow.
So to fix the river issue, you have to probably install another one of these, or I don't know how big is it.
Well, that's a good point. So we're going to double the size of this plant.
Oh, okay.
That's the big project that we awarded just recently. So over the next 5 years, we're going to go from 25 million gallons per day to 50. So the more we treat here, it means the less that Mexico dumps in the ocean, or the less there is in the river.
Do you think that's enough?
Probably not. I don't think it'll be enough, no. From this over here, the sludge goes on its conveyor belts. You can see right through there, it goes up.
These belts, yeah.
Right, and all the way up.
And then goes in.
And then if you see, it just drops into the trucks on a regular, and these trucks come in and out of here all day, all week, because the plant is running all the time. We don't shut down at night, so we're always generating sludge. Yeah. And when they're full, they head out, go to Mexico, and they dump it.
And they come back, right?
Right, and they come back.
Yeah.
So we usually do about 6 to 8 loads a day.
Wow.
Tijuana, up until the 1990s, did not have an adequate collection system.
David Gibson is a water expert. He'll give us the historical context and insight into the current state of the sewage infrastructure and challenges facing the Tijuana River watershed. David, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're a water expert. Can you, in your experience, can you tell us what's happening with this Tijuana River?
So over the decades, even beginning back in 1955, when the Water Board asked the federal government to intervene on sewage issues, the sewage issues have plagued the Tijuana River watershed. And by that, I mean the lower part of the watershed. The upper watershed is actually some of the cleanest waters we have in both countries. But it's the final 12 or 15 miles of the river that are grossly polluted by sewage, industrial runoff and releases, stormwater runoff, and trash. That condition has continued over the decades. And even though we made a lot of improvements with wastewater control in the 1990s, Tijuana, as I said, has outgrown that system, and we're now back to where we started from, with significant daily flows of sewage in the river, an ability in Mexico to get the infrastructure in place that it needs to be to treat it and collect it and discharge it safely offshore. We made a lot of progress in the last couple of years, but we're still far from the goal of having a sewage-free river.